Hello, I've made about 3 videos and um, I still didn't quite get everything in that I wanted to uh, because in the other videos I was talking about uh, 9/11 and how that there was people in the towers that they had floors like on the 90th floor. They were considered artists and that they had come from Israel and that they did have access to the building, and that Larry Silverstein had taken out insurance on the buildings 2 months prior to 9/11, and he's supposedly Jewish, although that gets used loosely a lot of times. The Queen of England supposedly it comes from the line of Jews. It dates all the way back to Jacob. The stone underneath her throne that is now back in Scotland, the stone of scone. Um, that actually was brought to England back in the 12th century, and it just recently was taken back to Scotland. And so the stone of scone is no longer underneath the throne, but um, the throne is still supposed to be like that's supposed to be Jesus' throne. They say now that only Jesus can sit on the throne or something. But the thing is, with the reason why I was mentioning her is because they take that very seriously, their lineage, uh, and so, and that's where I was saying, well, people you say they're Jewish, they use the term loosely, um, because how could she be one of the like the people that are like pharaohs? See, now when Jacob was around, he was around the same time the pharaohs were. Way back, that was way back in Egypt, and they do say that they was out in the desert for 40 years with the stone, and they used the stone for water and to get water from the stone and all this. It's all fable, but they like to say that, and they carried the stone around with them for 38 generations. So, like, it was actually longer than it would. It seemed like it'd be longer than that because it was way before BC, like 100 years. So, like, it was 1900 years BC. It was centuries, yes. So it'd be 1900. That would be 19 centuries BC, and then like another 19. So that would be 38 centuries. That stone, they've been lugging it around with them. It did stay in certain places for quite a while. It stayed in Ireland, I think, from 500 AD until 1200 AD. So it was there, and then, but before that, it was like over in Egypt, and that was said to be where uh, Jake. That's why they say climbing Jacob's ladder, because Jacob slept on the stone, and he called the stone the house of God. And then, after he called it the house of God, he gave it to his son Joshua and all this. But again, these names that are given, like Jacob, Joshua, um, all these names, Solomon, they're in the Bible, but you don't ever see them in history. But you see other names that are like that. So, like the King James version of the Bible, they use these names that are just like real pharaohs and stuff. And it's little, it's not really that hard to understand, but it's a little hard to explain that that the Bible, um, just certain things that happen, like in the Bible where they say Moses parted the Red Sea and all this stuff. Well, there was a talk Moses, but he didn't really part the Red Sea, but he did do a lot of other things, and they sort of the same things, like with the stone getting moved all around. Um, some, uh, well, Troy. Now, there's one thing about Troy, the new Troy, that was said to be in London. So in a way, it does come all the way to England. The new Troy is supposed to be like a new Israel. So actually, they would consider, you know, the London even they consider, well, we're really Israel people because we're the new Troy. I mean, this is dogma. This is what people really think. This is the people that where your all your money is getting moved around too, and land, and where the queen thinks she is in charge of not only Great Britain but the United States and Canada and Australia are all provinces of it. I guess Israel, that would be another province. Who knows? The way these people work. But what I do know is Rothschilds are the grand vizier for the Queen, and they have been for 300 years, and they funded the Rockefellers and the Morgans, and J.P. Morgan, as you know, is one of the biggest financial centers, uh, and so anyway, that was there's a lot of influences going on that people don't know about, and they don't realize that the Federal Reserve is private, and that the IRS is actually almost an extent. Well, it is kind of an extension of the Federal Reserve. I mean, they created that at the same time that they were creating the Federal Reserve, and it's all private. The taxes you don't know where the taxes are going because that's private too. You know, so um, anyway, that's just to give you an idea that these people are, they're playing for keeps, but they're really kind of flaky too because they really consider that they're biblical when it's not really. There's really nobody can say that they're sovereign unless everybody's sovereign. That's the point. Like some, I was just telling my girlfriend. I said, well, the queen to think she's a real queen, and she said, well, and my girlfriend says, well, she is a queen, and okay, well that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense because you see she isn't any more God. She doesn't have any more rights to God as any of the rest of us. We all have the same right to God. We all have inalienable rights, whether she believes it or not. And she doesn't. She doesn't think that we do have inalienable rights like she does. She thinks that she is a sovereign and that certain people are chosen and that nobody else can have, say, the right to property and the right to liberty, and that everybody has to be bow down to her and stuff like that. But that's not true. Now I know that Bush did and Obama did, but that doesn't. That's just because they're well-paid minions, and they don't mind bowing down as long as they get paid well for it. But it doesn't mean that everybody is thinks that way, or they should think that way. Nobody should think that way. Obama shouldn't think that way. He's supposed to be working for the United States, not off in this occult. Just because we have an obelisk in Washington, D.C., and there's an obelisk in London and an obelisk in Rome, and they're the only three city-states, doesn't mean he has to be part of the triad where he says, well, I'm a well-paid minion, so I'll be... No, he's not supposed to be any part of that. That's a den of vipers. The crown is a viper. The Rothschilds banking is all a viper, and it all needs to be. There was our forefathers really fought for this country, and now it's just become a laughing stock. Bush made it a laughing stock. Obama's making it a laughing stock, and it's a disgrace. It's disgusting. Thank you very much.